Hi, my name is Eric Davis, and my technology is called SoniView, which allows you to see the unseen in your beer production. So first of all, the problem in the brewing space is that there's a great need for precision fermentation monitoring and automation of the slurry dump process. So basically, fermentation is the one part of the process that breweries have the most trouble with and the most losses. And so with fermentation monitoring, the way that they do it now is by taking manual samples at about 6-hour intervals to where they measure the specific gravity and they wait until they get a certain number of measurements that read the same exact thing before determining that it has been the end of fermentation. The problem is that this can cause an overlap of upwards of 1 to 2 days of where the fermentation has already stopped and they're basically just wasting time by having the beer sit there. So if they were to have live data monitoring, they could see 25% faster turnaround on their batches by getting them done, dumping them, and get to the next batch. On the other side, after they're done with the fermentation, they have to dump all the used yeast and other slurry out the bottom of their conical fermentation tank. So you can see on one of those images on the right that you see a slurry coming out. Well, eventually that slurry will stop and beer will start to pour out very rapidly. They do it all manually right now, and it can take anywhere from 30 seconds to 30 minutes for this process to happen. As soon as the transition point happens, the beer is going to go out gallons at a time, and you could have massive amount of product loss if that is not done very quickly. So if you were to automate this process, not only would you free up the manual labor, but you would save hundreds to thousands of gallons per tank per year by simply automating this process and having it close immediately when it's done. So the solution is our SoniView technology, which is two different products basically. The first, which attaches to the top of the fermentation vessel on the picture here, and it monitors your beer as it ferments, and the other one that clamps onto the bottom of the outlet, which allows you to monitor and automate when the valve opens and when it closes, so that it precisely controls when the yeast comes out and when your beer has started so that you can close that immediately. This is non-invasive, which means it attaches to the outside and never touches your product. Low cost, so it uses efficient and inexpensive ultrasonic sensors, and it takes real-time measurements of many different parameters that the brewmaster will find very important and can use to make actionable decisions. So this will reduce loss by eliminating the error from the manual dumping, as well as provide the brewmaster with data-driven insights for better quality assurance and more consistent batches by providing this information in real time. So this will save breweries time and money through smarter fermentation, slurry dump automation, translating to a faster turnaround batch to batch, allowing them to get more batches in per year with the same equipment, less speculation of when their batch is done. They're going to save beer in the slurry dump process, allowing them to sell what they would normally lose, improve the consistency batch to batch, and finally increase their profit by reducing these unnecessary losses. So the technology is called an acoustic multi-phase flow sensor that doesn't necessarily need flow in order to work. It can work on static or flowing liquids, and basically it works by having ultrasonic sensors on either side of the pipe or vessel. We use a carefully architected acoustic burst through one end, which travels through both the vessel as well as the liquid contained within and is received on the other side. And through quite a bit of signal processing, we can extract many different physical parameters which can be used to both determine the flow as well as the composition of what inside. So this is a proven technology. Lano owns over 20 patents on the technology. It has had 15 plus years of being successfully applied to very different problems, and over 60 million has been spent on its R&D to date. So in terms of competition, this is the only truly non-invasive technology for the sector that doesn't need contact with the liquid. It has the lowest product price because it does not use very complicated optics or other electronics. It's by far the easiest to install because it just clamps onto the outside, and it requires almost no maintenance because unlike optics or other things that have to be constantly maintained, these acoustic sensors can go for nearly forever without needing any maintenance. So we aim to provide comparable or better performance at a lower price point. So we recently went to the Craft Brewers Conference and Brew Expo, which is the largest in North America and the premier conference for this sector. And basically we found, after talking to many different manufacturers, two different groups of companies that are interested in the technology: the sensor manufacturers as well as general equipment manufacturers. So for the first category, these are mostly companies that make singular devices that are solving one particular problem. And what we found for them is that they are interested in developing a new standalone sensor with the technology or integrating it with their existing product line to make it better. So for example, Precision Fermentation was interested in using the technology to both add an additional data stream to their technology as well as increase the accuracy of it. On the other side, the equipment manufacturers, which are usually larger, these are providers who maybe brewing is a small piece of the pie for them, and it's not quite, the best sector for them. And they also make quite a few different tools. So they are interested in adapting the technology to multiple different applications, not just brewing, and expand product lines of their own with an R&D collaboration. So basically collaborating with us, using the technology to implement it into what they find is important. So for example, Cargill is interested in using the technology for their sweetener manufacturing, because they do a lot of fermentation to increase their productivity on that line. So they had their own ideas for how this could be used, and they would be interested in licensing the portfolio. So currently the business model that we're pursuing is either a collaboration with the sensor manufacturer. They would manufacture the sensor and then they would sell it directly to the breweries, or basically doing some application R&D with equipment manufacturer to integrate the technology with existing sensor lines or their own platform, and addressing the needs that they find are important or the industries that they find the highest profitability in. So the market opportunity for this particular sector, we found that there's a little over 8,000 craft breweries as of 2019 in the US, producing over 6.5 billion barrels of beer. We calculate about a $400 million initial service attainable market. This is calculated based on the fact that there's about 4,500 breweries that produce over 10,000 gallons a year. That's the sweet spot of the breweries able to afford and are willing to integrate technologies into their line. These breweries collectively own about 40,000 tanks that are ripe candidates for this particular technology. So if you were to wire all those up with this technology, you could expect about a $400 million service attainable market, which is growing quite rapidly and is likely to date much larger than it was in 2019. So this could also get much larger by introducing additional products that target parallel markets, such as distilleries, wineries, soft drinks, and other ones, especially biotech, which would make that number much larger than that. So in terms of the development, we expect to have a bench prototype demo as of next month. We already have it now for one of the applications. A field prototype demo by the end of this year. Field trials starting by January or sooner with local breweries. A technology transition by June of 2022, and then hopefully see this on the market sometime in fall of next year. So the base technology has a high TRL level of about 7, and the application-specific TRL is somewhere around 3, but rapidly rising. So we also looked at this as a startup opportunity, and depending upon whether you start in, let's say, 2022 or 2023, we'd expect that the first year you would mostly be looking at product development as well as, getting your feet wet in the industry, getting a lot of contacts. So you wouldn't sell a lot in the first year, but then the second year you would sell quite a bit more, and then ramp up after that as you start to add salespeople, get your foot in the door and get more products online. So we would expect with these projections that you would have a break-even point at around year 4. And at that point, you're basically adding salespeople to increase your sales. And we project with about a $2 million total raise, you could expect, greater than $5 million revenue by year 5. So the team is quite a diverse bit of experience. Basically, our technical team, which is myself, the top left, Christian on the bottom left, and then Vamshi on the top right. We are all experts in acoustics. We've worked on quite a few different projects, R&D 100 award-winning technologies with our acoustic technology, quite a few publications in the area, so we're quite well versed in this technology. Mark, who is in the middle on the left, has over 25 years of experience in the private sector. He's our business development executive and is quite good at collaborating with other companies and commercializing our technologies. And finally, in the bottom right is Andrew, who is an entrepreneur fellow with Texas A&M, who has 8 years of startup experience is also helping us with this technology. So we're looking for interested partners to further our customer discovery in this market segment, as well as the parallel industries. Partner or help us connect with these field trials that are coming up. And then finally, expedite the technology and product development through either tech maturation, licensing, or partnerships. This is a great technology opportunity for an entrepreneur that's looking for something in the brewing space or another parallel industry. So if you're interested in licensing or collaborating with this technology, please contact us. Thank you very much.